What's going on, guys? So, I've had a couple times recently where I made a few videos and I almost posted them, but I just kind of felt like I wasn't really saying anything super new necessarily, so I decided against it. But it's been, I don't even know, like something around 40 days since the last time I did an update, so I felt like it was about time that maybe I should. And I also wanted to mention things have been going pretty well for the most part. No slip-ups. There were a couple close calls, but luckily I was pretty good about like talking myself out of it and getting myself back in the right mindset. But I wanted to talk about a few key things, I guess you could say, that have really made this go a lot smoother the past couple months. So first of all, I know I've talked about this already at one point, but ScreenZen is an app that I've been using, and it makes it so that I am more aware of how much I'm using social media, and it also creates a block on it. You can disable the block if you wait like 10 or 20 seconds depending on what you set it to, but what this does for me is it kind of like got rid of that need to constantly check it, and it made it less of an impulsive thing. So now when I go on there, usually there's some purpose that I'm going on there, whether that might be to reach out to someone or post something. But sometimes I still get lost a little bit scrolling, but I feel like I'm more aware of it now than I was before. And the app has really helped me a lot personally with that. I think they're about to change it to a paid app, which I'm kind of bummed about because right now I think it's free. But I hope that they still offer like a free version that's at least got most of the settings and stuff. So that's been happening. And then the other thing I wanted to mention too that I think has been really pivotal for me is really having like something to fight for. And what I mean by that is, like, if you're trying to recover and you're trying to recover just for the sake of recovering, there's nothing wrong with that, but I think if you don't really know like a different reason why you want to, or you don't have like something else motivating you, then it's a lot harder to stay disciplined that way, because you're kind of like basically just relying on that, and that's for most people is not enough from what I've found. And I think you've got to have like a solid foundation as to why you're doing this. Like for me, it really makes my relationship a lot better, and it also makes my friendships a lot better. As far as just like I'm more open when I'm talking to people, and I'm a little bit more like just willing to like, you know, give someone a call randomly instead of just kind of like letting life happen all the time. And I'm not saying that to sound like vague or anything like that, but I think if you let life just kind of happen to you, then it's just going to pass you by. And I think it's really important, once again, to like figure out why it is that you're doing it, but not just that, like don't just find one reason, but maybe find like multiple reasons. Like that's one reason for me. The other reason is because I feel more creative when I'm more present. So, and my job kind of requires me to be very creative. I work in the creative industry actually, so those couple of things are really, really important for me. So, you know, whenever I do get those moments where I get kind of like these unwanted thoughts and whatnot, I just basically try to remember those key reasons, and I try try to imagine what it would be like if I lost those things, like if I lost my relationship, or if I lost my job or something like that, if I wasn't able to do it anymore. And those things have really helped me. And it might not seem like, when you're thinking about it that way, you might be like, well, I'm probably not actually gonna, lose my job or whatever, lose my relationship. But the thing about that is, you don't know that for sure. I mean, people get to a point, I've heard this actually a bunch of times, where someone's gotten to such a bad point with their habit that they have lost those things. And while like, yeah, maybe the first time won't do that. Like, the first time it's kind of like, taking a drug or something. Like, the first time might not be the death of you or anything, but it's also a gateway into using it a lot more times. So you got to be really careful, because that mentality where you start to think that, oh, well, just one time is like not gonna affect me too bad, and maybe it won't, but maybe it will. That's the thing. So anyway, that's kind of my 2 cents on the whole thing. I think you've just got to have your foundation, and you've got to be disciplined about, whenever those thoughts do come up, you have to remember how to bring them back in your head. Like, sometimes it can be really difficult, because sometimes when those urges hit, they can be seem very convincing in that moment. But you have to remember that there's also this idea of like momentary pain, and if you think of like, when somebody's growing up, when they first experience like a really bad like amount of pain, like they fall on the ground, or they let's say they get like really cut up by something, it's hard for someone's mind at that age to realize that like that's only momentary, because all you can think in that moment is, oh, well, this just feels bad, and I want, and maybe they start crying or whatever. But this is actually kind of the same way, because you might have like that momentary pain, if you want to call it that, when you experience the urges, because you're wanting to basically go back and revert to that habit. But you have to realize that that pain is only momentary, and it's difficult to realize it in the moment sometimes, but you have to try. And if you can think like that, and you can start to realize that when those moments do occur, they're very short usually. It seems like a long time when it's happening, but it's usually over within 20 or 30 minutes. So anyways, that's kind of my 2 cents for today. Hopefully that helps some of you guys out there. Hope you all are doing well, and peace out.